But at the end of the day, it's those relationships. So
Yeah.
I had my former boss once say for football technology that we're in the service business and we are here to support the coaches and scouts. So at the end of the day, if I feel like I've done everything I can to make their job better and make them be able to get the most out of what they need to, that's my win. So,
Yeah.
I'm very flat in terms of wins and losses. I probably the oddest one was at Florida. We won the national title, and I woke up the next day like, okay, now what? It just, and I'm like, I shouldn't feel this way, but it was that way because it was just like it's a process. You keep going, from week to week. You're judged every week based on what performance
Yeah.
is on the game. But at the end of the day, then you move on to the next job. And that's kind of even like
Yeah.
a play caller, you call a play and you got to call the next
Yeah.
play.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Era 404 cast. I am here today with Mike Stoeber. Mike works with the Jags. He's the lead in football technology. Is that right?
Yes, my official title is Senior Director of Football Technology. So lots of words.
Amazing. Amazing. Lots of very meaningful words. Tell us a little bit about that. So what exactly is football technology?
Right. So yeah, that's a great question that I get a lot. Like, what do you do? And sometimes I pass it off quickly as I'm the computer nerd for coaches and scouts, but probably a little bit more officially, it's probably got really three roles. One is we deal with all the computers in the building for the coaches, in terms of watching video. So we have about 120 stations in our building, meeting rooms, coaches' offices, scouts' offices, etc. We also deal with iPads and surfaces for coaches when they're outside the building. All that hardware comes through us. The next probably biggest part of our job is the video itself. So when you talk about coaches video, it's very different from what you'd see on TV. So a game is shot, we call it an all 22. So we have a sideline camera that shows all 22 players at the same time. So I actually have trouble watching TV games because you never see all 22 players and it just drives me crazy. But so there's a sideline shot of all 22 players, and then there's multiple end zone views of that same play. So it might be 30 seconds, but you might be watching the same play for three, four, five times from different angles. And then all offensive plays are put together, all defensive plays are put together, all kicking plays are put together. So it's a very specific for coaches and scouts to watch, both at college and pro level. So we bring in every single NFL game. So there's, I think, 334, if I remember the number right, NFL games in a given season, including the TV copies, so that we could actually hear the announcers and watch the different TV angles. We bring in about 2,000 college games for us to evaluate as well. And that kind of leads us to the third part, which is the data part. And that's we'll line up data to every single play of every single one of those 2,500 games. And when I say data, it might be as many as 200 to 400 data points, depending upon the game per play. Your average game has 150 plays in it. You do the math, it adds up an enormous amount of data, but it really allows us then to ask those questions with these players on the field. If they're lined up in this spot in these situations, show me every time that happens. You click a button, instantly you can watch any play from any game in the last 10 years, NFL in the last 3 or 4 years for college. We actually have to start deleting at a certain point. So,
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it's almost like oversimplifying it by saying football technology, it feels like to me, because there is so much that goes behind them. Like with my background also in sports,
right.
like we, I mean, even just having like access to a fraction of what you guys, I'm sure, are managing, it felt overwhelming to me.
Right.
So I am just I have such a high level of respect for the stuff that you guys do because wow, like I can't even wrap my like I'm still trying to wrap my head around all of the different facets and I'm an engineer. I'm literally a computer engineer. So it's a lot. It is
It's
a
a lot of
lot.
computer engineering too, I'll tell you.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. So, so you've been in the game for a while, in the football technology game for a
Correct.
while. In the past 5, 10 years, what would you say has surprised you the most about developing technology, coaches being willing to maybe adopt new technologies? What has surprised
I
you the most?
It's probably not surprising in saying what you're talking about coaches, but every year coaches adopt more and more. Uh, Younger coaches come up with that have grown up on technology. The older coaches realize the younger coaches are dealing with technology, and it makes the job more efficient. And in terms of technology, there's different levels too. We get some technology that helps the coach do his job faster. Uh, we have some technology that has a coach be able to dive deeper in areas that he's never been able to dive into before. And some are just great for teaching tools because at the end of the day, a coach is a teacher, because they're not the ones out there on the field as much as they wish they were sometimes, I'm sure. But they can know everything there is to know. But if they haven't transferred that knowledge and put their players in the best position, and you know that as an athlete yourself. So, we go along that lines. But probably in the last 5, 10 years, I'd probably say the biggest difference, probably I would go two areas. One is the amount of data. So we used to be able to, we would get the video, but not have data companies out there that actually watch the games themselves and provided a lot of this data. So the only data you got was maybe 30 columns of information for every play for every game. And now we're talking 400. So the amount of level of, I could tell you who the right corner was and how far off he was at the line of scrimmage at the snap, and did he move and what kind of coverage type he played on any play. Where before I probably didn't even know who that player was, say 5, 10 years ago. So in terms of being able to study players, both like free agents and NFL draft, as well as just our opponent stuff, we could start asking questions that you could not ask before. When this player's in press coverage, what did he do? What things happened that he was good at? What things that did not happen, when he was in these specific situations. And before, all you could do is watch tape and try to take notes. Now you could specifically ask those questions and really limit down and see what you need to see. So data is by far probably the biggest thing that's changed the game and changed it both for coaches and scouts. Probably say the next biggest thing is really kind of, well, for lack of better words, called cloud. So in the past, to be able to watch video, it was very hardware intensive, you had to be in the building because it was a computer that was locked down to servers that were in the other room, and you couldn't, there was nothing else you could do. Now we have players that each give an iPad, and they're at the team hotel right now, hopefully watching practice from today. So knock on wood, that's what they're doing for training camp day number one. Uh, we have road scouts that are able to log in and watch any of the games we talked about at any time, and see that live. We travel to London every year, and even though we specifically download and bring certain video, we have direct access back to our servers back in the building and watch any play of the what I talked about before. So we're never out of touch now, where before it was very much outside the building, it was very hard to do stuff. So just
Wow.
technology video has just become so much more able to be in the cloud and viewable and just used in so many different ways.
Yeah, and it's funny because I don't even think I could imagine accessing anything without the cloud. Because for
Right.
somebody like
And
me,
and
that's
that's where the younger coaches have that mindset, where the older coaches are still looking for the tape to certain deck someplace,
Mm,
so it you get the full range. So
yeah. So I know that a lot of our clients, so I work at a tech startup. I do a lot of cloud software. We sell like we're a SaaS company, but we also
right,
will work with the government sometimes, or even some like bigger companies like Costco or Walmart who want to have it kind of like beefed up privacy, and they want to host our software on premise, like on their own servers.
right.
It is that what you guys do? Like I understand that like stuff like this, like information, film, all of this data is very important to keep it private and keep it secure. Is all of you guys' data like on premise? Is that what I'm hearing?
There is most of it is probably kept on premise. There are certain approved vendors that we will deal with that will go cloud, and access is very locked down. All,
Okay.
two-factor authentications,
Yeah.
strong passwords, all that stuff that you go and deal with, etc. Uh,
Because I would
I
imagine that type of data is very under lock and key. Because I
we
mean,
try
that would
to,
be,
in certain data legally has to be like HIPAA information from
yeah,
athletes, etc. At the end of the day, too, I also just try to remind everybody that it is a game with 22 players and a ball. So we try not, we're not, it is a very big business. So don't get me wrong. We take security very important, but it is also, we kind of have to laugh at ourselves sometimes too, in terms of,
yeah,
we're, but it is a great business to be in. And we have a lot of great vendors that have grown up with us as technology has expanded. Some of these vendors have been in business 10, 15 years and have gone
mhm,
through many phases to kind of meet that security demands as well as
yeah,
reaching out in the cloud and solving issues. So
yeah, yeah. I could totally see that, and I could totally see like having to take a step back and be like, it's a game. This is a
yes,
game. We're having fun. This is supposed to be a sport. Like, we need
right.
to dial it back a little bit because when you're introduced to such mass data, and especially when you're like having to use it to make very split-second decisions, like
Yes.
how do you decide what's important, what's not? How are you able to filter through the things that we need, like, or the priority list of things that we need?
Right.
What does that look like?
I think for our coaches, every coach is different, and that's both interesting and difficult at the same time. So it's not like even from year to year they might change. So
Mhm.
how a coach prepares, how a coach thinks about the game, what data points are important to him, how he absorbs information. Some are very visual, some love written reports, some we for players, we do online quizzes just to even test them, et cetera, right? Every type of thing. So
That is so
you kind of
funny.
everything you think about teaching is done in the sport of football as well. So,
Yeah.
but in saying that, every coach kind of has a phase, a part of the game themselves.
Hmm.
So we have a passing game coordinator, we have a run game coordinator. You have your own O line coaches
Hmm.
that deal with the O line. He's not worried about what the receivers are doing. You have, those type of
Yeah.
things. So they're very segmented as well. So my department, it's very important that we get information to each individual that they need. And
Yeah.
I also think it's very important for us in the football technology department to be smart about, and we talk regularly with them, but there's so much data out there. Yes, you can open the fire hose and blow everything away, and that doesn't help.
Right.
So to understand how a coach thinks and how he processes is very important to our process of then and how we get information back to them and help them in
Hmm.
their process of preparing. You are right on game day. I mean, we spend 6 days to get ready for that game, but in the middle of a game, you might have 20 seconds to make a decision on variables you did not know 1 second ago. So
Yeah.
you did not
It's
know what the down
funny.
and distance was, who was on the field, and you have 10 to 15 seconds to
Yeah.
make a play call based on that. And so as
Yeah.
much prep as you can ahead of time is so important. And it is unique experience to ever, if you ever had the opportunity to be a signal caller, it's nothing what you think it is. So it's so much easier on the living room couch. And I've been in that situation
Oh.
where I've made those calls, but in that moment, dealing with data overload and it all comes down to your prep and having to process and sticking to that process and really diving in through that. So
Yeah, it's funny. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Just you and I, we were talking about it
yes,
being the first day of training camp, and you try to prep for everything, and you've got so much time to prep, and then suddenly you're hit with something that you didn't
right.
think about,
It is like
and
the first day of school, I think is how I described it, because all of a
yep,
sudden, we planned for 6 months for this one day, and it's
yeah,
like we we didn't think about that, or that was we forgot to hit this button, or that type of, it's just
Ugh.
you have to be flexible. You have to, be
Isn't it funny
smart,
how
but you
life
have to
does
be.
that to you?
So it keeps you honest. So it keeps you really honest.
That is a fact. That is so true. I mean, and especially with, play calling and decision making, like that's probably one of the scariest parts of the game because then it's
It
like,
truly is. I think most people realize the amount of pressure it is to process the information in such a short period of time and make decisions that affect everything else from that point on. And so,
mhm.
we will run about 70 to 75 offensive plays a game, and they might have as many as 200 to 300 plays prepared because they don't know situations, and you don't
Mm.
know what kind of injuries you're going to have, so you don't know what players are available, you
Oh
don't know
my
how that
gosh.
defense is playing, you don't know the game situations, the weather could change, you name it, and all these factors come into that decision making process in that short period of
Oh
time.
yeah.
So
Oh yeah. We're very familiar. I mean, this past year, with my team, it was injuries that killed us. I mean, we had like anywhere from our backup catcher ended up having to have shoulder surgery halfway through the year. Our one of our two of our pitchers in the fall got hurt. One of them had to have shoulder surgery, and she just like last week has been cleared. Another one had a concussion and was out the whole fall, and then
right.
she wasn't even cleared until our first game, so she's having to figure it out. Oh, and she was a freshman, so she didn't even get to be in college for 3 months, and she's getting thrown into games, and then our two-hole hitter, our best hitter on our team, tears her ACL halfway through our one of our biggest games against Baylor. Like that is just one of the things that is like it's almost like God's way of laughing at you when you think you've
Right.
got it all figured out and you're
As soon
like,
as you have, something's going to happen. So,
as soon
and
as you
you
think
you
you've
always
got
wish that
it.
it's never injuries, though. But yes, for your game, the wind changes. Instead of blowing out to right field, it blows out to left field, and what that does, or
We had one
sun.
game. Oh my gosh, the Sun Bowls. Okay. Okay, so as an outfielder, we had to deal with both of those things. The wind,
Yes.
I
Mhm.
probably had one game where we played the U of H, University of Houston, and the wind was blowing in at like literally 20 miles an hour. And I don't know if you know how big a softball is, but it's about that
Yes.
big, and it's not very aerodynamic. So it's very subject to how the wind blows. And
Right.
on the field, like down low, you can't really feel it because they have a big stadium. But when the ball goes up past like the stadium, the wind hits it. So
Yes.
one girl, I was playing right field. It was like my first collegiate start ever. Everybody said, pay attention to the wind, pay attention to the wind. And I was like, well, yeah, obviously. Like, and sure enough, the first ball it's hit to me goes straight up, and I'm camped under it. I'm like, okay, easy. And then I'm suddenly realizing the ball is literally like going back in to the infield. And
Yes.
I'm like, so I'm having to like run and it ends up falling like 10 feet in front of me after sprinting. Oh my gosh, that was awful. That was horrendous. And then the sunballs, we literally would practice sunballs. Like there's literally only one way to do it, honestly, and you literally take your glove and you put your glove as close to your forehead as you can, and it blocks the sun. But the thing is that when the ball is in the sun and you're blocking the sun,
Yeah.
you also can't see the
Can't see the
ball.
ball.
So you just literally stand there and pray. And our phrase is, you want to catch the sun. So it's literally just standing here, and how hard can you
Right.
fight the reflex that you have to run
Right.
away?
Well,
So yeah.
and going back to football with play calling, we have to know where the sun is, because if you're going to go route, you don't want that receiver to be looking back in the sun too. So you have to
Oh
think
my
of,
gosh.
it's just, again, other factors, all
I
the
didn't even
stuff that
think
goes
about
into.
that.
Yes. So
Oh
it
wow.
it,
Yeah.
it is amazing amount of factors that account for every play. So
So are you like in communication like with your coach like the whole game? Like is that how that works? Are you telling him like you need to call this, then this and this? Like is that
I
how
would
that
never
works?
tell a coach what to call. So that is
Okay.
why they get paid the big money. They could ask me questions. I have in years past definitely have been on headphones for different reasons. Some of it was kind of what you kind of generic you would think, should I call fourth
Yeah.
down here? Is this a good time to call a timeout? Those type of things. Sometimes I've
Okay.
been on for coordinators that wanted more information and kept up with game flows in terms of personnel tendencies and are they following what we think they're going to do in terms of run passes and certain plays, et cetera. So I've been involved in many different ways for different coaches.
Mhm.
Uh, it's my first year back at Jacksonville, so I don't know what exactly my role will be here. So, but
Oh, that's
yeah,
exciting.
there's a lot of people that could be in the ears of coaches, but at some point they have reached this profession, this level of the profession for a reason, and that is they know how to process and know how to deal with that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
probably the less voices they hear, the better, to be quite
Yeah.
honest.
That makes sense. That really does make sense. So being in this role, kind of doing this, I would say, genre of career for as long as you have,
Right.
what has been your favorite part of all of it, of data collection, looking for like innovation, like new
Right.
technologies, talking to coaches, talking to players, or different, delivery methods? What
That's a great
of
question.
all of that, what is kind of like your favorite aspect of being able to be in this world?
One helps that I love the game, so I'm always trying to study the game itself. And I will quickly say the more that I learn, the more I realize I don't know. So it is such a,
Mhm.
you know, but in terms of what kind of the passions, I think the relationships that you develop with the coaches and players, and every year is different. So I was thrilled that I got to work with Coach Spurrier the entire time he was at Florida. But our coaching staff was different every year. So the head coach might be the same, but there were always different coaches and different ways of things being done underneath, et cetera. So there was always changes, even though, I worked with him for like 15 years. So
Yeah.
so it is, even though sometimes things are the same and maybe even not any changes in coaching staffs, but they might twist their philosophy and trends in football, like the run pass options, RPOs, and running quarterbacks and things. So there's trends and just trying to keep on all that. But at the end of the day, it's those relationships. So
Yeah.
I had my former boss once say for football technology that we're in the service business and we are here to support the coaches and scouts. So at the end of the day, if I feel like I've done everything I can to make their job better and make them be able to get the most out of what they need to, that's my win. So,
Yeah.
I'm very flat in terms of wins and losses. I probably the oddest one was at Florida. We won the national title, and I woke up the next day like, okay, now what? It just, and I'm like, I shouldn't feel this way, but it was that way because it was just like it's a process. You keep going, from week to week. You're judged every week based on what performance
Yeah.
is on the game. But at the end of the day, then you move on to the next job. And that's kind of the even like
Yeah.
a play caller. You call a play and you got to call the next
Yeah.
play. So,
Yeah. So how would you say, and I love that you brought that up, like the mindset of being a servant, right? Like your
right.
job is to support the people around you. How would you say that mindset has helped you, like in your career, in your relationships? Like, has that been something that you've kind of built those relationships on that you talk about?
Oh, 100%. So I think it's super important to be that, to know what my role is, to know that what I can do can make somebody else's job easier and to do everything I can to make their job easier. I can't do their job. So, and I
Mm,
would never want to do their job. But I want to make them the best they can be at their job because that ultimately is how we succeed as a whole team. So that
mm,
support, that service to them, um, is paramount. And I would actually say I probably do that throughout my life, not only in my career, but the way I look at life in general is, how can I serve others? And that's kind of been my mentality throughout my life. So it's been easy to adopt as a career, but hopefully it is also one that has provided me a lot of guidance and value to others because of
yeah.
that.
Absolutely. And I remember like one of the first times that I and was talking to you that uh you said to me, you said whatever I can do to help you, Lindsay, just whatever I can do
Right.
to help. And I like that really resonated with me for some reason because I'm looking at you and I'm like, you're in a position that I would kill to be in. Like, no, it's what I can do for you. So, I mean, and it's like you saying that makes me respect and just really value your outlook all the more because it's like it that to me is such a great insight to like someone like you, like your character, because you're in a very senior leadership position. Like you are in charge, you like you're doing a great job. We want to talk about some bosses. You're a boss, man, and
Yeah.
that is it. And to have the attitude of somebody that you've never met, some kid that's fresh out of college, and you're like, "How can I help you?" What? That is, and it is so rare in today's, day and age. It's what can I get out of you? Like, what can I get from you? And it's everything feels very transactional, even when it's just, you're just networking and you're just wanting to make a friendship. Like you're just trying
Right.
to build out, who you know, and it still feels very transactional a lot of the time. So that was for me, it was very refreshing, and it's really cool to see that in action and hear you talk about it because that is something that I noticed about you in one of our first interactions.
Well, I appreciate that. And I will go, a lot of that is there were a lot of great people that mentored me early in my career. And the best way I can honor them is to either mentor or be supportive, et cetera, is to be that one that wants to jump in that foxhole. That's what you want to be.
Yeah.
And that's the best way I feel like I can honor all those that spent time on me is to hopefully be some value to somebody else at some point. So
I love
I love
that.
that you reached out to me, and I love that we connected.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that we're here right now. And I hope that, if any of your mentors are listening to this, that they've absolutely done a great job, first of all. And, I'm so grateful for their leadership, to you and to you for being able to continue to spread that. And wow, what a just amazing like cycle of positivity, just
Right.
like, the rising waters lift all ships. Like I love that saying because it's so true. You
Yes.
pour positivity into people and then you slowly start just continuing to add goodness and positivity without expecting anything in return. And then you're building out like a better, ecosystem. You're building out a better environment for yourself. And then suddenly other people are continuing to do the same thing. And then it's just infectious. So I love that. I really, really, really do love that.
I mean, you name it, everyone I've worked with has given parts of themselves to me and have made me who I am. I mentioned I work for Coach Spurrier, and many coaches here at Jacksonville, et cetera. Liam Cohen, who we have right now as our head coach, yeah, I've only worked here a couple months, but absolutely love the way he approaches his players, how he approaches his staff, and I look forward to our relationship continuing to build. So it it is an amazing business to be in that we have all
Yeah.
these relationships, because unfortunately a lot of times we don't have these relationships long either, because the successful ones move up and promote
Uh,
and move out, and and you're still here, and you bring in new ones and younger ones, and
yeah.
it's but it's just as exciting to see them too, and learn from them because they look at things different. And so
Mhm.
to be able to look through eyes of others, same thing I've been looking at for 30 something years, and they come out with a different way of looking at it. It's like, yeah, that's a great, you have to have those open eyes,
Yeah.
and just really kind of explore it all. So
Yeah.
it's just a neat profession to be in, both long-term relationships and short-term as well.
So, okay, what about this? Do you have a moment, maybe in game or maybe even outside of a game, that is very memorable to you throughout your career, something that where you really felt like you had a big impact in like one moment or anything that really like stood out to you and you're like, wow, like I am making a difference or I feel really good about being able to help people or I really feel like I am helping people. Do you have maybe a moment or a situation that kind of felt like that, or even a couple.
Yep. Well, I think the first thing that kind of came to mind when you said that is one of Florida's biggest rivals was Georgia. And one year I discovered a tendency that I told our offensive coaches, and and they did this play like two or three times, and our coaches knew what was coming and audibled and scored, I think, a touchdown two out of those three times,
Oh,
specifically on
no.
those. And so I was like, yes, so but
Isn't that
those
the
are probably
best?
rarer than what you think. A lot of it is
Are they
I
really?
give information. So
How so on such because we do that a lot too. Like in softball, we pick signs as often as we can or tendencies
yes. Mhm.
or anything like in
It's
game
all
that we
about
can
a
try to
game
pick
of,
up
yeah,
on.
all these games are based on, usually 50-50, and anything you can discover or learn to nudge that more
Yeah.
41,
Yeah.
51, 49, et cetera. So
What did
yeah,
we
it's all
do?
about
We
numbers.
did
So
one time I was on the bench and I was pissed about being on the bench. I did not want to be on the bench. I wanted to be in the game. So I was like, okay, well I can either sit here and be pissed off or I can try to help. So I get on my notepad and I start writing down pitch location or not pitch location, pitch types because the pitcher, I don't even remember who we were playing. She had a really good changeup and she was throwing it a lot. So I start writing down her sequences, and then I realize that she's throwing it almost 100% of the time. She's throwing it on a 1-1 count or a 1-2 count. So one ball, two strikes, or a one ball, one strike count. Almost literally every single time she gets to those counts, she's throwing a changeup. So I tell my coach, and I'm like, and he looks at me and he goes, we had a runner at first base, and I'm not sure if you understand kind of like the
yes. Hmm.
biomechanics like of a changeup. It's slower than a fastball. So in softball, you have to wait until the pitch is released to go. But if the changeup, if she's pitching a changeup, it's slower and it takes longer to get to the catcher. So the runner's going to be safe if she's anywhere
Deal. Yes.
stealing
Hmm.
speed.
Yes.
So we're so we I kind of noticed that tendency and I tell my coach, who's also a stat rat, like he is very big data guy. And I tell him and he's like, huh, should I steal her? And I was like, yeah. And then
Yeah.
he did. And we did that the whole game. And it was literally like we were probably like 10 for 10 on stolen bases that game
Right.
on girls who would never have stolen base. I'm talking like our catcher, our DH, like everybody was stealing bases. It was great. It was the best thing ever. And I'm sitting there so proud of myself. So I totally get that feeling.
Yes, you sometimes you just hit that one magic moment and you discover something that just truly at that moment.
Oh my
But
gosh. And then
so
that's like
I feel
almost,
it.
yeah, that is, and that's such a cool feeling. And I'm so glad that you're able to like resonate with that because it's so unique and it's almost cliche because, we had a lot of girls on the bench who were pissed, just like I was, about not
Right.
playing because obviously you're there, you're competitive, you want to play. But it takes a little bit of emotional maturity to say, like, so what? Like I'm
Right.
still on the team. I'm still
Right.
very much so have a role to be played. So it's like, okay, yeah, I can sit over there and be pissed because I'm not where I think I should be or I want to be, or I can try to be productive. I can do something for these guys. And kind of like that selflessness is something that I know it took a while for me to figure out. Um, but that was, oh my God, that was a game changer. Like I was just as tired. Like once I figured that out mentally for myself,
Right.
that, oh my God, wait, I can do that. And it's like you really, it's almost, it's so, it's like empowering, it's like you open up a whole other avenue of being able to help. And it's like I was just as tired the games that I'm sitting there and like tracking everything down and looking through tendencies and trying to
Yes.
come up pick up a pattern like in game like trying to do all this stuff and I'm running around and I'm like get out of my way I can't see what she's calling like and I'm just as tired like I am so mentally fatigued after those games it's
Yeah.
just like I had been playing.
But I was probably even more so.
I mean,
Yes, I know what you're saying. And that's
so
exactly what I would do sometimes on headphones when you asked earlier is exactly that same type of tracking to try to see, is there patterns? Is there
yeah.
anything that could tip us to knowing more what they might possibly do? So
Yeah. And it's
that
it's
is great though,
so
but that goes back to the whole service to the team. So,
yeah.
is
and that to me, which is ironic as, somebody who was also, would still play, like I'd still get put into
Right.
play. It was like, so it was like I went from being pissed off about not playing to then I was on the bench and I was contributing and then I got put into play. And then it's like, well, now who's going to do that job? Like I was the only one doing it at the time. So I was like, well, now what? Like you took away the thing that I was good at. Now I actually have to play. So, and then, other people started kind of filling, and then it went from just one person doing it to now there was three people doing it, and
Right.
and they were helping each other and coming up with even more stuff. And next thing I know, I come into the dugout and I've got three people coming at me saying, "Hey, when the shortstop takes a step to the left, that means it's about to be a curveball. Look out." And I'm like, "Huh, I didn't even notice that."
Yeah.
And it's like, and like you said, it's like infectious, like people are picking up on it. Like we
Yes.
had one, we had one game this year. I literally hit a home run off of a picked signal, like first home run of the year. Like it was so fun, and
But
being able to,
that's teammates lifting up each other, and that's what the whole thing about sports is
yes,
you're
and
there
it's
as a group, and it's we. It means more than me, and
yes, and
and
it's buy-in, and it's,
yes,
people saying like, okay, we've never done it before, but we're gonna do it right now, or we're gonna try
yes,
it, or I'm gonna do something for you, and it's I'm going up into this moment of this high pressure moment, and I'm gonna choose to trust my teammates instead of relying on just myself. That was big for me too. It was um, kind of being able to, instead of being focused on whatever it was I wanted to think about, like I'm listening for what she's saying.
right,
I'm gonna trust her and trust that she's gonna give me the right call and that she's gonna, say the right thing and that she's gonna do it on the right, whatever we had, whatever our pick was, she was gonna
right.
call it right. So that was a big one too, because you don't want to give anything up, because it's you out there, you're the one that's on the line. You don't want to be the one to get screwed by a bad call. So it's, trusting that your teammates are gonna be there for you and that they're gonna have your back and set you up for success. And that was a big one too. And for the ones that trusted me before, like last year when I first started doing it, like I don't know how they did that because this year it was definitely more of a norm. It's definitely been like a more recent thing, people kind of choosing to be more involved in the game. That's
Right.
a big part is a shift in our culture. We got a whole new coaching staff this year, so that also changes things. So it's definitely been a bigger focus of, impact, really everybody being empowered and championing the whole team to be involved, even when it doesn't always feel like it. So for the ones last year who stuck their necks out and said, you know what, I'm gonna listen to her and did, like that was huge. And I can't even begin to thank those girls because like, and they set up this year of being able to branch out and more people getting into it and more people kind of doing it. And it sounds like that's kind of how this technology is evolving your role, even like people embracing this new technology and saying like, hell yeah, this works. And then trusting that, feeding it to the actual players and
And there's
using
that
this
whole
stuff.
feedback loop where you then applied it and the coach believed in it and then there was a success and then that grew.
Mhm.
So, okay, now let's see what else we can
Yeah.
expand. What else can, make
Right.
sense?
And
And
then
then
suddenly
it's
that
just
stuff
always
that sounded
growing.
crazy, that stuff that used to sound crazy is the norm.
Right.
So it's so funny how this kind of like loop of innovation just continues to grow and expand and progress, like, and it's unlocking like these new potential, opportunities, and it's really 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 so cool, and I'm really excited to see kind of where this goes. I'm really excited to root for the Jags this year. You are my first, I would say, connection that I have with any professional football team. So
Well,
I have to,
well,
I
go
have to,
Jags, definitely.
you know what? It's go Jags, baby. It is go Jags for me. So, oh my gosh, what an awesome conversation. I'm so excited. I literally cannot wait to put this one out. I'm like gonna have to like sit on my hands for a couple days because I'm like so ready to just have this one out there. Mike, you are so amazing. I I've loved this. This has been so much fun. I'm gonna have to like invite you back or something. This is
I would
amazing.
love to. Whenever you want to talk, you give me a call.
Yes, amazing, amazing. I may have to circle back after the season and get some more feedback, get a little reflection session. Um, but until then, do you have any parting words for the people? Anything that you feel like the listeners need to know or should take from this and take from this conversation that we've had today?
I think we've really covered a lot of things, but
Yeah.
going back to that whole service supporting others is again such a mantra in my life that I try to spread that to others, and I really feel like our whole department have some great people that work for me. I
Yeah.
shouldn't say work for me, we work together. And that's the way I always like to do it is we're all in this together and our job is to again make those coaches and scouts job easier and that in turn makes the players more knowledgeable and better prepared,
Hmm.
which comes out to hopefully team success. So it all, we all have our bit to play. We all are a part of that success, and that's what all we can do is keep striving to be that.
You guys, what would you give for your boss to act like this? Oh my gosh, I love that. Well, thank you so much, Mike. I am just buzzing after this conversation. That was so amazing and so insightful and so real. Thank you so much for being so real with me. I really, really, really appreciate that. And to everybody listening, it doesn't take much, even where you're at right now to be a servant leader, to put yourself out there for other people and lead by example and lead by service. You can do that wherever you're at right now, in your house, in your relationships, in your job, in your marriage, whatever that looks like for you. So sadly, we do have to say goodbye. I know this is awful. This is the worst part. Thank you, everybody, so much for logging into this episode of the 404 cast. Until we let out the next one, please try not to get lost. But if you do, you know where to find us on the Error 404 cast.